This one is unfortunate, but like I can't say I'm surprised. Lil Tim trolls King Von on the death of his death anniversary.
New footage linked to Lil Tim has exploded across social media, sparking panic, theories, and a wave of accusations within minutes. Fans say the timing is no coincidence and the reactions are getting louder by the hour. In this video, we break down what triggered the viral storm, the controversy surrounding Lil Tim's recent posts, the history that led to this moment, and why the internet believes this footage changes everything. The anniversary diss that reignited everything. On November 6, 2025, the 5th anniversary of King Von's death, Lil Tim released a new diss track aimed directly at Von, OTF, and the legacy that still surrounds them. The timing alone ensured the reaction would be swift. But what escalated the situation was the content of the track itself. Listeners heard lines mocking Von's death, references to long-standing Chicago drill rivalries, and boasts tied to the self-defense ruling that cleared Tim years earlier. Within hours, clips from the song traveled across X and YouTube, gathering thousands of views and igniting the kind of backlash that rarely stays contained.
And he just saying, rest up, Pab. Okay.
Wow. Is that the time he died or something, 312?
Yeah. So, this is why when YoungBoy had his show in Chicago, it got canceled.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like, this is why.
Right.
Like, and I was trying to, when I said that's a whack, he was getting like super, I don't want to say defensive, aggressive. He was being.
As the track circulated, another post surfaced, a tribute to Lil Pab, the rapper killed in 2021 and a close associate of Tim and Quando Rondo. The tribute might have passed quietly on any other day, but Tim posted it at almost the same hour Von was shot in 2020. The overlap felt deliberate to many observers, especially to those who have followed the feud from the beginning. The symbolism of choosing that specific moment stirred suspicions that the tribute was less about honoring Pab and more about needling Von's supporters. One widely shared X message captured the accusation bluntly. Tim had chosen the exact hour to rub salt in the wound. The reaction deepened as O-Block affiliates entered the conversation. A video titled, "O-Block members crash out on Lil Tim for killing King Von" began circulating, adding another layer of confrontation to an already volatile situation. Comments across social media revealed a divided audience, some condemning Tim for exploiting an anniversary tied to death, others defending him by pointing to Von's own history of posthumous taunts toward rivals. The debate became less about a single post and more about the ethics of provocation, legacy, and the blurred lines between artistry and antagonism in modern hip-hop. Yet the uproar did not exist in isolation. Followers quickly linked Tim's actions to a pattern they believed had grown more pronounced over time. To them, the anniversary diss and the precisely timed tribute were not impulsive gestures, but calculated moves designed to draw attention, spark outrage, and capitalize on a moment loaded with significance. And as the criticism mounted, one question pulled everything into focus. Was this an escalation born from confidence, or a tactic meant to keep a volatile story alive? What happened next would only intensify that question. How the Von Tim tension really started. To understand why Lil Tim's actions still spark such intense reactions, the story has to return to 2020, long before the anniversary posts and the recent diss track. The tension did not originate with him. It began with a slow-building rift between King Von and Quando Rondo, a conflict that unfolded in the open, scattered across interviews, live streams, and fleeting social media exchanges. What started as subtle friction soon evolved into a visible rivalry, one that fans could trace through indirect comments and shifting alliances.
At one point, like around this time?
No, that wasn't around this time. That was after the fleeing of Lou. I didn't get caught directly for the fleeing of Lou. I ended up making it back home.
Von, aligned with OTF and connected to Chicago's drill scene, often spoke with a confidence that shaped his public persona. Quando Rondo, operating out of Savannah and linked closely with NBA YoungBoy's circle, carried his own reputation and loyalties. Their worlds rarely overlapped peacefully, and by mid-2020, followers on both sides sensed that the distance between the two camps was shrinking. Moments that might have once passed quietly, brief remarks, cryptic posts, interviews filled with restrained tension, began to feel like signals of something larger building beneath the surface. Throughout this period, Lil Tim remained in the background. He was not the one making statements or trading subliminal messages. His role was quieter, but no less significant. He was part of Quando Rondo's inner circle, someone who moved with him, traveled with him, and stood with him during shows and public appearances. That proximity meant that any escalation between Vaughn and Quando would inevitably draw Tim into the conflict, whether he intended it or not. As the disagreements grew more visible, the online conversation framed the rivalry as another example of overlapping territories, misunderstood intentions, and unresolved tensions common in the rap world. Yet the situation felt heavier, as if each new interaction added weight to a conflict neither artist publicly named, but both clearly understood. By the time November arrived, the friction was no longer abstract. It had transformed into a series of moments that created a sense of inevitability. Moments that set the stage for the confrontation that would follow. Still, it's important to remember, Lul Tim did not create the rivalry that shaped that night. He stepped into a conflict already in motion, one shaped by forces much larger than a single individual. And when the tension finally erupted, his presence at the scene placed him at the center of a story he had not started, but would never escape. The night everything changed. November 6, 2020 began like any other night at an Atlanta hookah lounge. But what unfolded would reverberate across the hip-hop world for years. Outside the venue, tensions that had been simmering between King Von and Quando Rondo's entourages escalated into a confrontation. Words were exchanged, and the atmosphere shifted rapidly as allies and associates of both sides moved into position. To outsiders, it appeared sudden. To those familiar with the history, the eruption seemed, in some ways, inevitable.
Well, you pull out and you shoot 4 times.
Yeah, the gun jammed.
Oh, the gun jammed.
Yeah.
After the 4th shot?
Probably like the 3rd shot.
Okay.
In the midst of the chaos, Lul Tim, Timothy Leaks, became a central figure. Reports identified him as the person who fired the shots that resulted in King Von's death. Almost immediately, the incident drew attention not only from law enforcement but from the broader hip-hop community, which watched with a mixture of disbelief and fascination. Tim's name, previously tied to Quando Rondo's circle but not widely known outside it, now appeared in headlines and social media threads across the country. The night did not end with the confrontation. Tim himself was injured during the response, shot by police and hospitalized. He remained under detention while receiving care, his recovery complicated and prolonged. The images of him in a hospital bed, navigating a life-altering injury, quickly became part of the narrative, framing him simultaneously as a figure of controversy and, for some, sympathy. His ordeal introduced a new layer to the story, one that blurred the lines between culpability, survival, and public perception. What had been a local incident escalated into a defining moment for multiple communities. Tim's involvement, paired with the high-profile nature of King Von, propelled him into the spotlight as one of the most talked-about figures in hip-hop almost overnight. Discussions online and in interviews dissected every decision, every association, and every possible motive. Analysts and fans debated the significance of his actions, the responsibility he bore, and the broader dynamics of the ongoing feuds. By the time the news cycle moved on, Lul Tim had already been cemented as a figure whose name would carry notoriety for years to come. That night was not merely an isolated incident, it became the pivotal point where his life, career, and public persona shifted irrevocably, placing him at the center of a story that would continue to unfold in the years ahead. Arrest, charges dropped, and why his name still won't fade. Following the events outside the Atlanta hookah lounge, Lul Tim faced the full weight of the legal system. In 2020, he was charged with the murder of King Von, a development that immediately drew national attention. The allegations, given the high-profile nature of Von's career and the violent circumstances surrounding his death, placed Tim under intense scrutiny from both law enforcement and the public. Every detail of the incident was dissected, and his movements, statements, and associations became part of a broader narrative surrounding the feud between Von's circle and Quando Rondo's camp.
Well, you pull out and you shoot 4 times.
Yeah, the gun jammed.
Oh, the gun jammed.
Yeah.
After the 4th shot?
Probably like the 3rd shot.
Okay. But after you start shooting, all hell breaks loose. There were off-duty cops in the area, and they start shooting.
While still recovering in the hospital from injuries sustained during the altercation, Tim was granted bond. His time under detention was unusual, as it coincided with a medically complex recovery period. The combination of legal pressure and physical vulnerability framed him as a figure both under threat and under observation, a situation that heightened public interest and speculation. Even while confined to the hospital, Tim's name remained central to discussions about accountability, self-defense, and the responsibilities of those present that night. In 2023, a significant turn came when his attorney confirmed that the murder case had been dismissed before indictment. This meant that the charges against him were officially dropped, removing the immediate threat of a criminal conviction. Yet the resolution did little to settle the wider debate. To supporters of Lil Tim, the dismissal affirmed claims of self-defense, reinforcing the narrative that he acted in response to an attack rather than with premeditated intent. Conversely, fans and associates of King Von viewed the outcome as deeply unsatisfying, a legal conclusion that failed to address their sense of justice or closure. The dismissal, however, did not erase the intensity of public attention. Because there was no formal conviction, every new post, interview, or release from Lil Tim is automatically read through the lens of the 2020 incident. Each appearance reignites debates, stirs old wounds, and invites fresh scrutiny. The story, though legally concluded, continues to evolve in the court of public opinion. This enduring relevance explains why 5 years later, even seemingly minor actions, tribute posts, anniversary tracks, or social media activity are treated as consequential. For Lil Tim, the past remains inseparable from the present, and every public move carries the weight of history, ensuring that his name and the story of that night will not fade from the conversation. The fallout that won't fade. Even years after the incident, the story of Lil Tim continues to unfold in real time. On November 8, 2025, 6699 revealed in a Vlad TV interview that he had been scammed by Tim for $10,000. The payment was meant for a verse on a King Von diss track 6699 planned to release after 2020, but according to 6699, Tim never delivered. The revelation reignited debates about Tim's character, his motives, and the way he navigates the music industry while tied to such a controversial moment in hip-hop history.
Well, Lil Tim, who I interviewed at one point, I actually ran into him at the NBA Youngboy show.
What'd he say?
Well, didn't he say that he scammed you for a feature?
Tim, for his part, has framed the events of that night through a lens of self-preservation and loyalty. In interviews and flashbacks, he has spoken about killing King Von while protecting Quando Rondo, portraying his actions as unavoidable under the circumstances. Whether these statements are taken as explanation, justification, or storytelling, they have kept the conversation alive, forcing audiences to wrestle with the tension between survival, accountability, and the myths that circulate in the wake of tragedy. In many ways, the story refuses to end. Each revelation, every post, every viral clip becomes a prism through which the events of 2020 are reinterpreted, replayed, and debated. What might have been an isolated incident has become an enduring narrative, one that forces reflection on loyalty, consequence, and the long shadow that acts of violence can cast over music, memory, and public perception. The saga of Lil Tim is a reminder that in hip-hop, as in life, actions never exist in isolation, and the court of public opinion can turn every anniversary, every post, and every story into a moment that refuses to fade. The story of Lil Tim and King Von is not just about fame, feud, or legal battles. It is a reflection on choices, legacy, and the echoes of violence that follow us. How far does memory reach, and who decides its meaning? Share your thoughts below.